Hi guys, welcome back to the vlog. This is Stan here with you. Well, in today's vlog, I'm going to discuss about my recent court verdict which I just received here in Australia. So stay tuned for that. So if you guys have been following my vlogs recently, you would have seen that I got a traffic fine here in Australia as soon as I landed here. And I think it was the third or fourth day after I got my car and when I was driving. The traffic violation was for my daughter who removed her seatbelt. Well, I had explained already in the previous vlog why she removed her seatbelt. It was only because she felt like vomiting and she was sick, so we asked her to remove it. And for our bad luck, there was a cop just behind us, and it was two female cops, and they just stopped us and they fined us immediately. We thought they would let us go because we explained the situation to them, but they did not, and they just fined us. So this is why I challenged this fine in court, because I was losing around $690 plus 5 demerit points for this traffic violation. And if you think logically, although it was wrong since we did break the rule of not wearing a seatbelt, but it was due to our circumstances that we had to do it, and it was not purposefully done. So this is what I wanted to tell to the judge in the court actually, so that they could reduce the demerit points and reduce the fines for us. Well, unfortunately, this is the first time that I set foot in a court ever in my life. I never been to any courts in India, and so being the first time here in a court was a bit nerve-wracking. And I was actually encouraged to go to court just because of my friend here. He's an Australian. His name is Martin, and what he told me was that Australian courts are more fair and they are more compassionate, and they would definitely consider my case since I didn't do it purposely. So I thought, okay, why don't we give it a try? What is there to lose? If the verdict comes in our favor, we might get the demerit points reduced and the fine reduced a bit. But what we didn't know was that this is actually a very lengthy process. So the moment I went into the court and I faced the judge, she was a bit surprised seeing us there. Why she was surprised is that just for a small fine amount, why are they coming to court? Because this is actually a very lengthy process, and it would take about 3 to 4 hearings before they reach a verdict. And for each court hearing, I'll have to take a lawyer, so that would incur some fees. Then I have to pay court fees, I have to pay levy charges. So once the verdict comes, the court fees and the lawyer fees will be much higher than what I will be paying for the fines. So that's why the judge was actually a bit shocked, and she asked, "Are you sure you want to go with this?" And also initially, when the judge was using some legal wordings in a statement when she was talking to me, I could not understand a single bit of it. But all I understood was that she was asking me whether I was guilty or not guilty, and that's it. That's what she wants to know. If I say I'm guilty, I would have to pay the court fees, and I would have to pay the traffic fines, and I will also incur the demerit points. So it will be a huge amount. I think more than $1,000 for the whole thing if I said guilty. So I was actually a bit confused when she was asking me this question, because I just had two options: either I should say guilty or not guilty. And if I say not guilty, she'll transfer the case to the sessions court, and I'll have to go to 2 or 3 other courts after that. So not only is it more time consuming, I'll also be spending a lot of money for challenging this traffic fine. So I was in a really big dilemma. I did not know what to do. I suddenly turned to my friend. I was like, what can I do? And then the judge spoke to my friend Martin, and she asked him, he's new here, so you should have at least advised him on this matter. So my friend was also talking to the judge, and the judge was pretty strict, and she was a bit angry because we were wasting a lot of our time going back and forth. And I was more concerned about the demerit points, and also a small mistake that the police officers did in the fine. They actually mentioned a code in the traffic fine saying that it was 3 people not wearing the seatbelt. But although they meant it was just one person not wearing the seatbelt, the code that they mentioned was, I think, 18A rather than 19A. Some code, I can't remember the code exactly. So I actually wanted to challenge that as well, because that was definitely the police's mistake. And I think there was a $40 difference between one passenger not wearing a seatbelt and all passengers not wearing a seatbelt. So I didn't want to incur that, because the rest of us did wear a seatbelt when the cops did stop us. But actually the judge didn't want to hear any of it. All she wanted to know was that whether I was guilty or not guilty. And so she then started talking to my friend, and my friend said the same thing, that it was his mistake that he encouraged me to come for this case. We did not know that it was a long process. So the conversation was going back and forth, and then my friend had actually mentioned to us, he thought that we would get a fair judgment on compassionate grounds because I'm new here, and that's why he had encouraged me to come to the court. And so on hearing this, the judge actually softened a bit, and she then said, okay, we can work out something. And for that, what I'll have to do is I'll have to say that I am guilty in this case, and they would be able to work on the demerit points and the court fines if possible. So me and my friend had come out of the court again just to discuss on this matter. So then I told my friend that, see, I'm not sure what the verdict is going to be, but it's better to get a verdict right now, because if we go to the sessions court and the other courts after this, it's going to be very time consuming, and it's also going to be very expensive, which is definitely not worth it. So we'll just see what the judge has to offer, and we'll just say, okay, we are guilty. So then we went back to the stand. So again, I started talking to the judge, explaining that there's a traffic code mistake that the police had mentioned, and due to this my demerit points are also a bit higher, and also the fine is a bit higher. And as soon as I said this, the judge really got very angry, and she said she does not spend more than 3 minutes for any seatbelt cases, and in our case she took more than half an hour already, and she's actually trying to help us out, and I'm just keep on going behind for just a small code mistake and also demerit points. And then immediately me and my friend had to apologize. Your Honor, please, we'll go as per your verdict and what you have to say. I'll just explain my entire case, what happened, when it happened, and then we are okay with whatever verdict we get. And that's what I had told the judge. So I explained the complete scenario to the judge, and I told exactly what happened. And so she heard everything. She made me take an oath. She asked me again several questions, and they made me promise under the Bible, and I did take the oath. And to my knowledge, I had mentioned the complete truth to the judge. So she heard everything. She made me go back, and she again spoke to the police, and she actually scolded the police when I kept talking about the code mistake that they had mentioned. And the cop and the officer that was there, he also got very scared once the judge started scolding. Then I said, okay, fine, we'll leave the code mistakes and we'll just go by the judge's verdict. And finally, after the whole hearing, the judge gave a verdict in our favor. She reduced the demerit points from 5 points to 0, so we had no demerit points, and she completely removed all the fines. I didn't have to pay a single fine that the police had mentioned, so I didn't have to pay $690. But I did have to pay some amount, and that amount was the court hearing fees and some court levy charges. So that I had to pay, and that came around $460. So although it was lesser than the fines that I got, it was still a huge amount for no mistake of mine. I mean, there was a mistake, but it was circumstances. But this is what I want to tell you guys. If you guys do want to go for a court case, you'll have to do it with a lawyer, and it will be very, very expensive. I was extremely lucky that this judge gave me a verdict in the first hearing itself. This is highly unlikely. This will never happen to anyone. She just gave this as an exception for me because I did not know the court proceedings and the rules and regulations here. That's why I landed up in court. And because of that, she just excused us, and she gave us a favorable verdict in the first hearing itself. So I'm extremely lucky, but this is not possible for others. So what happens to most of the other people who get a fine, and although they are innocent and it is not their mistake, they would definitely not go for a court verdict, or they will not go for a court hearing, mainly because of the costs involved. It's really very expensive. Just like in India, like how much time and money you spend to go for these court hearings, it's even more expensive here in Australia. So it's actually not a very good idea to go to a court just to reduce your fines or have your fines cancelled, because in the end you'll be paying more just in court fees and legal fees. Yeah guys, so this is what I actually wanted to inform to you guys. So although it has come in our favor, it is definitely not a smart move to go for a court case here in Australia. It's very expensive, especially for a fine. It's actually much cheaper to just pay off the fine, because you save a lot of time and you save a bit of money. So that's it for this vlog, guys. I hope you guys found something useful from this vlog, and if you did, please do hit the like button. Do consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done already. And until next time, this is Stan signing out. Bye bye.